watching The Vinny Show. I'm Vinny from South Philly, and today we have December Rose, great
Hello.
musician. Hello, welcome, December.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Great. You're one of those people that I was looking at online, and I figured, you know what, you'd be a great guest, and you were very nice enough to say yes. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Awesome. All right. So tell us about yourself. You're a singer. Tell us how it all started. Tell us everything.
Okay, so I feel like I'm a specialist in one thing, but I'm a jack of all trades in a lot of ways. I'm a singer first, singer artist, and then vocal coach and naturopath, and I dabble in like teaching songwriting and piano and all this kind of stuff. But essentially, it's being an artist is always like your first kind of love, and you discover it as a child and get into it. But I found passion for coaching and vocal teaching and songwriting a little later, and I just kind of fell in love with that too, and now it's just really part of the whole picture of what I feel like I need to do in life. And then recently discovered making reels on social media. Didn't really consider myself a very funny person until people just thought so, and I'm like, well, all right, hidden talent I didn't know anything about, but what can I say? So I'm just pursuing some passion and having some fun.
Very nice. Yeah, that's how I found you. I mean, that's how I find the most of my guests through social media. Listen. I say it every episode. It's a wonderful thing. But I laugh because a lot of the reels. I mean, my parents are from Calabria, so I identify with a lot of the funny, skits and material that you were doing. It cracked me up. And then I discovered that you actually sing, and I was like, oh wow, you're a great singer too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things with social media. You make content for the things that you like really want, and it never ends up being that like gets any kind of buzz. Well, I mean, I guess it does for some people, but for myself, it didn't really work out that way. It was like had to hit rock bottom, and I was like, all right, I'm tired of posting about music. What am I going to talk about today? Let's explain where my real Italian name comes from, and go figure that would be more interesting. So I was like, all right, just gonna roll with that for now, and slowly introduce people to that side of me that I'm a musician, and find a way to make it all gel along the way.
Right. Well, it's what the public wants, right? So we have to give them what they want.
Yeah.
I always thought too, like cooking was a great genre. When I first started getting involved with social media, I started I remember I was new on like Instagram, and I did like a thing with ramen noodles, and it got like 6,000 views, and I was like, oh my god, what did I do? This is amazing,
Yeah. Watching back, like studying your own videos now, like the one thing that goes right.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. I mean, I think there's like some sort of dysfunction that's related to this online stuff, because I think we're all getting goofy from it. We're trying to figure out what works. But anyway, one thing that does work in your case is your wonderful singing. So tell us what's going on, and how do you spend your day, your week with your craft?
So, all right. So I'm going to be very honest, and I think musicians are not going to like me for saying this, but yes, it's about your passion, but it's also about how you're going to put like food on the table and a roof over your shoulders. And I am lucky that I grew up with an accountant of a father that always said, you have to be practical. You can go and be an artist, but find a way to monetize your art. So that being said, a lot of my day is comprised of teaching people a lot of vocal coaching, songwriting coaching, artist development stuff for people that are like really, really beginners. I work on my projects. I have like some studio work stuff, maybe some online writing sessions. That online thing has been great. And then I also work in the corporate scene on the weekends. So I perform at events, like could be casinos or weddings or whatever it might be. But yeah, basically anything that's still involved in the music department that helps me to continue improving my chops and just to like stay fresh, because I don't find it any sense that some artists will be like, oh, well, no, like I'm not performing original music. I can't perform there. But I don't know. It's kind of doing you a disservice, because not only are you, your voice is just getting rusty at home doing nothing, and you're also not making money from it. So I don't know. I just like to have an open mind to stay busy with whatever kind of comes my way work-wise within music or within entertainment. And that way I'm always, feeling stimulated.
Well, right. And so it's just like, a bodybuilder, you have to work those muscles. You have to keep training. You have to keep active. You have to keep working your craft, like I said. So
Yeah.
that's and listen, you know what? Being honest about it is what we need, because people have to look at this, because I'm sure a lot of people look at this that are, interested in getting involved, but you have to worry about that aspect of it, because
Mhm.
if you look, my brother had a beautiful tenor voice, he could sing like Lanza,
Nice.
but the bills caught up, right? So unfortunately you have to forsake that. But if you're able to get your finances in order and be able to make a nice little, even if it's not a lot, but something in the beginning to get yourself
For
through
sure.
this while you're doing something you love, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, like I remember before kind of like taking that step to go full time into it. I finished school and I was working in a boutique as a part-time job, and just as like a sales associate. And I really liked that social component. So it was fun for me, because even though it doesn't seem like it, but I'm actually kind of a shy person. So it was very hard for me to always take that step, like, oh, hello, our promotions today are like that initial contact was always a so it was a good challenge for a while, just to have that social skill. But I was always scared. It was always doing this part-time job while something else happened with music. And I feel like a lot of us musicians kind of get caught up in jobs that way, that we're always waiting for something else to happen. But then I remember I worked with this guy once, and he just said, well, while you're waiting for something to happen, like, what if all the things that you want are happening, just not in the way that you thought? And I was like, I'm listening. And that's when I just started to find opportunity in things that, I maybe wouldn't have considered before, but you never spit on something that could bring you income, like,
Sure.
ever.
Right. Now, and there's, I have some family members that are kind of in the scene with music, and so they find things, whether it's an Italian festival, whether it's this. There's always something going on. The beauty of social media and all the different tools that we have now is that you can find a lot of different events. A lot of people can find you, and it's right at your fingertips. It's never been. I keep saying it, but it gets redundant. But I don't think it's ever been a better time than now to really be out there promoting yourself and finding the path that you need to find to get what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about some of your influences in regards to singing, that maybe growing up or even now. What are some of your biggest influences?
So I grew up watching, like Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys, and that was, hugely motivational for me at the time. Then it evolved into Adele and Lady Gaga and that kind of thing. But I would say recently it's been this I guess she's kind of like a comedian on Instagram now. Her name's Adley. And her whole journey has been just wild, because she really took off, I think, around the time of the pandemic, as it started. And if I'm not mistaken, she also comes from some kind of a musical background. And I guess, like, similarly to me and to many other artists, like when one thing's not working the way that you want it, you kind of find another entry. And so she did it by just showing up online and, like, not being limited to these boundaries of being a musician and can only do music. And it's like totally worked in her favor that she's, connected with millions of people online, and she's like now a full-time content creator and really, like, just kind of living her best life, just being a goofball. But it's really inspiring to just watch that. Like, she didn't like let anything dim her glow. And just chases that very passionate, joyful lifestyle every day. So I look to her as kind of a role model at this point. I'm like, no, I can make music and I can make content and I can still do everything. That's like, I can find fun in the work that I love to do if I don't just feel like I have to fit some image of, what a serious artist is supposed to look like.
So, all right. So you then decided one day, you know what, I want to do this in front of people, and I want to, and you had the courage. How was it, like, the first time being on stage or being in front of a group of people?
I mean, I have a pretty young memory of that. Like, I was a child and performed at, like, school recitals and things like that. And it was nauseating. I think I was always just scared of, not having a perfect performance or forgetting something, and that kind of thing. And I guess everything I feared, I've probably experienced on stage. So I guess at some point it was like, oh man, I just gotta learned to laugh at myself on stage and just work with it. And over time you just kind of get better at it. I love it now because I understand that anything and everything that can go wrong will at some point. And you don't know when that day is. So you just show up, hope for the best. And as long as you don't take yourself too seriously, it's going to be okay.
That's great. That's great advice. What about some of the struggles? I mean, this sounds like some of those were struggles, but what are some of your struggles now?
It's weird. Like, it's a love-hate situation with social media because, as I explained, like, I took off for comedy and like Italian stuff, and that wasn't what I had in mind. But now that it did, and I'm happy about it, it's been so much fun. Now I guess the main struggle has been how to fuse these two worlds together, these like two aspects of myself, of music and Italian culture, and all the comedy, because the stuff that I write about is so vulnerable, and as much as it is hopeful and motivational, but I would say it's still pretty dark. I do have a lot of like dark stories to tell, but that's where I guess the comedic relief comes from, because if I don't laugh at myself, I'm going to be crying. So I have to, share it in some way. So I'm still figuring that out. That's the hardest part right now.
It's funny you said that, because I remember, and I forget who said it, but I remember hearing a famous comedian. I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Jim Carrey, but he said that most great comedians have gone through a lot of like trauma and a lot of bad stuff. And he actually was homeless at one time. He had a horrible background,
yeah.
Very, very bad. But some of the best comedians have some painful background.
It's how you cope,
Yeah. That's right. Coping strategy. All right. So now, I mean, is there anything coming up that you're excited about, or that you have anything, maybe some goals or anything that's on the horizon that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah. So actually, I'm finishing up my next EP, which is Disney inspired, and that should be coming out within the next like 2 to 3 months. And I'm also playing Italian Fest in Montreal in August. So if people want to know about that, they can just check out the page, and I'll be posting the date and time there. And I should be going to Italy, so that'll help me document quite a lot more content to share on social media for both like comedy and cooking and like all that kind of fun stuff.
That's great. I mean, you're going to get a ton of reels out there.
This is my creative space. So it's where all the magic happens. But yeah, I try as best as possible to knock out one a day. Sometimes it like gets a little intense, but yeah, it's been great.
What part of, if you don't mind me asking, what part of Italy are you going to go to?
So I'm actually going to see some family in Rolo, which is in Emilia Romagna. And then I should be spending some time in Puglia, and then just taking the train to like hop around to a couple of like neighboring areas. I haven't like fully mapped it out yet. That's like the general idea. I'm not hitting Sicily, if that's what you're wondering. That's gonna be on the next trip, I hope.
I was in Sicily once. It was real. I mean, I used to go to Italy once a year from the year of the first time I went to Italy was in 2000. And I would go every year because my parents had moved back to Italy. So
wait, you said you're from Calabria, both parents?
My parents are both from Calabria.
Okay.
So like we're one village, like close to each other,
Okay.
And so they came over in 66, but they went back in 2000. So from 2000 to 2012, I would go every year, and sometimes twice a year. I mean, I stayed there one time for like 8 months. It was crazy. I had more jobs. My dad used to say, like, I'm running out of jobs. Nobody's going to hire you.
Oh,
wow. I
wow.
didn't care. I used to pick up and go. Like, I'm like, I quit. I'm going to go to Italy.
Wow.
Those days are over.
Got it.
But going back to, I was Sicily once. It was beautiful. It was in Messina. And you know how it is. I'm not telling you anything, but for the viewers out there, the food. Well, the first time I went there, I couldn't believe how deeply sweet the fruit was. Like here, we're just used to stuff that is, and we had no idea because that's how we grew up. But like the figs or just an orange, or
especially the figs.
Yeah.
Oh man, like we get that because I live in Montreal, and when we get them here, like the outside looks nice, but you bite into it, there's like no taste. and it's mostly hard. Like it's supposed to be, you know, kind of squishy and juicy and sweet, but they've been just like very watery and bland for the last several years.
Now you're talking about your own like backyard trees. Or you're talking about in the stores.
I'm talking about stores here. I could barely even grow a tomato plant right now.
Wow.
I don't have like the green thumb for gardening just yet. It's been trial and error every year.
Yeah, well, growing up in the city, I never like we had a couple pots in the yard, which was like a very small, probably smaller than a bathroom, like just a little alleyway. And I used to, it was always in me though. I always, you know, I used to, my mom would plant a little tomato plant. And I would be like, that's why I have my kids. I make them smell everything. I make them see everything, and get that connection when, you know, as they're little, because I did. That's how I always grew up loving that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, as far as the sweetness, yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it again until 20 years ago that these things that we eat, most of them are just picked very like green and then are rotting to ripeness. So they're not really the way they're supposed to taste, you know?
Yeah.
Sad.
Very.
I mean, being in the mountains in Italy, in Calabria, I remember, you know, I was picking figs that were like, they were dripping. I mean, it was amazing how sweet they were.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to it, because I haven't been. I'm just, you know, always hearing about everyone's experiences in Sicily, and just looking forward to going and finally checking it out for myself. And everyone's like, once you go, you're not going to come back. So like to Montreal. So I was like, well, I'll leave that for the last stop then, because if I don't come back.
Now how long is that trip from Montreal?
Ooh. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a long overnight trip usually.
I know from Philly to Rome, it's about, on a good flight, it's about 16 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, more or less. And then on the way back, it's always like longer, you know, the trade winds, whatever it is.
Right. I mean, we're probably not that much far off, like maybe 12, 13 hours. They're overnight flights. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I get tempted every day. I know they leave out of Philly like 5:30 every night. I get tempted. All right, so let's get back to you, and not so much Italy, but Italy's always there. Who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
But always keep your options open. That's what I learned. So, okay. So, is there any? Do you find it now that it's getting easier for you to kind of get yourself exposed now with social media being what it is? Do you find it a little bit easier? You're starting to get maybe more attention, more, maybe even opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a bit like a snowball effect, right? Like once one thing starts to work, it generates interest, and then people start to ask, then more opportunities surface. So in that sense, yes. But I also think that the content creation aspect itself is a skill. Like I think anyone, and especially any business owner, like the reason you need to be on there is to promote your business and to just gain awareness for your business. But obviously this is not news today, but the thing that people are interested in now are stories, and like it's your ability to storytell. So it's something I've been developing, because when I first started, you know, on TikTok, especially like a couple of years ago, beat me if I knew what I was doing. But you know, like I researched, I was watching videos and like studying content, talking to coaches, and just to like get more information on like how to come on camera and really be myself, how to really look natural, really look like I would be if you were sitting next to me having coffee. And I guess that was the, you know, the goal I always had, even with music, is just to like build those authentic connections with people. Like I'm their friend, because I am. But for some reason, there was this barrier with the phone, just like I'm talking to a screen with nobody on the other side. And I wasn't wrapping my head around just like, how to show up. And then I finally started to figure that out. And now it's really just I guess that's the aspect that is easier, and also still in development, as I'm sure I'll continue to improve, but just to continue really showing up as myself and finding, you know, new ways to tell my stories.
Yeah. And I think probably the overarching thing here is to just repetition,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just in front of a camera over and over and over. And then somehow you start to feel more comfortable with things.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need that little encouragement. Like it was that, you know, one video that took off that it was like, oh, I did something right in that video. What was it? Oh yes, I didn't care. I didn't try so hard that day. And so then you try to like repeat that action, like, let's not try so hard today. Let's just talk to our friends. Great.
I have this conversation all the time with my friend Sal, and we talk about, because we have like this comedy thing that we're trying to put together, and that we're doing. It's pretty funny. Pasta Cheats Crew. It's this crazy, it's like the Three Stooges meets the Godfather, and
Okay.
so, and I think there's a market for that these days. With mob comedy, goofy Italian, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that we sit there, we try to think, okay, what's funny, what are people gonna like, and then you just see something that's really like, a parrot cursing out a cat, and it's got 10 million views. It's like it's like we overthink this stuff sometimes.
Very much. That's the thing that I find the hardest, but I think is the most true is, we spend all of our time growing up like trying to become a good adult, and then we spend all of our adulthood trying to like reconnect with what we were like when we were kids. And so it's finding that easy access door to always tap back into your childhood, to be like, that's the stuff I would have laughed at. Like, that's what little me would have thought. And it's always in those moments that you end up finding like those little golden nuggets that, like, oh, that's hysterical. What a great idea. And I just think that sometimes you're so tired, or you're like so busy or stressed out, that your brain just goes off and it's like, I don't want to think. I don't want to be stimulated. Just like, shut up.
Yep.
But those are the times that you kind of need to push yourself a bit harder. You're like, no. We have to reconnect. And you always find gold in it.
Yeah, I can't agree more with you. I kind of coined a little phrase lately. It's like, my stage of my life now, you spend all these years, like you're little, you believe in magic. You get older and you start to believe in money and work and reality. Then you start to get older and you start to believe in magic again. You start to revert to, it's just bizarre how you kind of come full circle.
Oh yeah, because I guess you get overwhelmed with all these like life things and goals, and I guess this is the part that's like scary about following your dreams. It's like following your dreams is magic in and of itself, but it's not always practical. It's not secure. It's not stable, or it can be eventually, but that step is not in any capacity offering you stability of any kind. So it clashes with your whatever your goals might be in adulthood. But then when you get older and you're retired, or whatever the case might be, then you have nothing else. You have to go back to your dreaming. But at that point, you're maybe not, well enough to pursue them, or whatever it might be. So it's so important that like every day is find a new way. How do I reconnect with that magic within me? How do I not like, how do you discover, I guess, or really understand that money is not the end game. Money is like a means to an end. And I think that when you take your eye off that goal, like, oh, I just need to stash up this much money, but then you just realize that like money is going to help you get to whatever destination you were looking for in young self.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, beautifully said, really. That makes a ton of sense. And there's so many people that are caught up, and I've been guilty of it too, I'm not going to lie, but caught up in this cycle of, oh, I just got to get this amount. I got to take care of this. I got to, I need this much money. I need this house. And like we're renting and borrowing everything, And so I finally, at this age, realize it's about memories. It's about family. It's about good, wholesome, just wonderful things that you can create. In your case, music, or whatever it is. But those enjoyable moments, those enjoyable goals, those dreams, those are the things that really, I think that, in my opinion, that's what life's really about. Yeah, it's nice to have money, obviously. You can't, and you can't be to the extremes. You can't be a big spender. You can't be a big saver. You have to find somewhere in between where you can still enjoy life without all the pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what else do we have? Let me think what else I could bombard you with.
Sure.
So where can they find you? I mean, you're under December Rose and all your social media, right?
Yeah, exactly. All social media is December Rose Music is like the actual hashtag. The handle. And if they want to check out my website, it's decemberrosemusic.com. And that's kind of like the hub for everything. And mostly music based on there. And social media is kind of un mischio un brodo, like the music, some content of funny stuff, some gelato.
It's well-rounded. Yeah. But say, look, that that shows that you're talent. You're able to dabble in all those different realms and be able to pull it off nicely because you're funny. I mean, I've seen you with the scarf over your head. I mean, it's hilarious. Now, if you check me out, you're going to say, oh, my God, this guy's nuts with all the get-ups that I do. But nah, you're talented. You're talented.
Thank you.
And then YouTube, you're also on YouTube, right? Because I know I think I've seen a couple of your videos on YouTube as well.
Yeah. I'm December Rose Music. It's on there as well. That's like mostly the music video platform. And I put some reels on there as well, but yeah, it's mostly music-based content there.
Well, we'll make sure we also put links down below.
Sure.
This way, everything's there for everybody. And please, all of you watching this, I really, really encourage you to check her out. She's wonderful. Her social media, her YouTube, subscribe. Please make sure you support her. This is what we need in the world. We need more talented people that are pursuing their dreams and also inspiring to others. I hope there's a bunch of little boys and girls that are watching this too that are looking at you and saying, wow, I would like to do that. So that's kind of like the narrative of what I want my show to be. It's inspiring for other people to go after a dream.
Yeah. Amazing.
Well, listen, I guess we're gonna close out the show, and I just want to remind everybody, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to Vinny from South Philly Show, and most importantly to December Rose, and click the links, follow, like, ring the bells, beat the pasta pot, all that stuff. We want to wish you a great time in Italy when you go, and we look forward to all your wonderful reels and funny stuff, and of course, music.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks again for joining us, December. You've been watching December Rose along with Vinny. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again, December. We'll see everybody soon.
Thanks, Vinny.
Yeah.